Despite claims from airlines that passengers would see lower fares this year, prices continue to soar. The latest stats from the Department of Transportation found the average domestic fare increased to $388 in the first quarter of 2015. That's up almost 2% from the first quarter of last year. The news comes as the Justice Department investigates whether major airlines work together to keep ticket prices high. Kris Van Cleave joins us now from Washington to talk a little bit about this. Kris, thanks for joining us.
Sure thing.
I remember when we first heard about the Justice Department investigation, one of the things that we talked about was if there is collusion among the airlines, it's really difficult to find proof. So what does this report show?
Well, I think what's interesting here is while it wasn't a huge rise in airfares, you do see that airfares ticked up, and this happens during the first quarter, the same quarter that the Department of Justice began hearing complaints about price gouging. They have since launched this collusion investigation. The Department of Transportation also has a separate investigation into price gouging going on around the time of the Amtrak crash for flights between Washington, D.C. and New York. And what we're seeing is, for the first part of this year, prices went up. Now, airline executives have been saying they expected to see fares go down this year. Keep in mind that the price of fuel has dropped substantially this year. And the other thing that we learned in here is about 25%, a full quarter of their income is coming not from ticket prices at all, but from all the ancillary fees that airlines are charging. So what I think is interesting here is just simply the timing of the fact as the Department of Justice was receiving complaints and moving towards launching this investigation on collusion. Here now we see that airfares did in fact tick up at a time when there are these allegations that as the airline industry has consolidated, there are fewer options, that the airlines worked together to reduce seating capacity and thus drive up prices.
Yeah, they know the Justice Department is taking a close look at them right now. Can you tell me a little bit more about what this Justice Department investigation entails?
Sure. The Justice Department is looking at the largest airlines in the country, United, US Air, American, as well as Delta and Southwest, and looking at whether or not they colluded, worked together, or in some way conspired together to reduce seating capacity, which would then increase demand, and as demand goes up, prices go up. The airlines all deny any collusion whatsoever, but they had been talking very publicly about capacity control, limiting the amount of seats available. They look at it as a cost-saving effort. The Department of Justice has some concerns about whether or not it is anti-competitive or if that's a sign that the airlines were working together. Separate from that, you have the Department of Transportation, which has launched an investigation into several airlines for the time right around the Amtrak crash when the Northeast Corridor was largely shut down and airfares in some cases spiked considerably. The Department of Transportation wants to see if there's proof of price gouging there. So you have these two separate investigations by federal regulators about airline pricing, and it's coming at a time as we're seeing that airline prices continue to tick up. Also, we've seen fuel prices drop this year.
Yeah, I think as a passenger, that's what I think. I think, we know that oil prices are at an all-time low. You keep hearing about all these discount airlines that seem to be offering, bargain basement prices to fly. So when you put all the prices of airline tickets together, why are we still coming up with higher prices? Why aren't the prices dropping?
So there are a couple of things. One, the discount carriers like the Spirit Air, the Frontier Airlines, Allegiant, they fly a very small percentage of the people who fly every day. So you've got four major dominant carriers that control somewhere around 80% of the air traffic in the U.S. And you have smaller carriers like JetBlue and Alaska, Allegiant, Spirit, and so on. So even if the discount carriers are coming in considerably lower than your Delta, your United, your American prices, there's so much of the traffic is now controlled by just four airlines that really they're the ones that are going to set this average.
All right, Kris Van Cleave in Washington, thank you very much.